Hi, and welcome to the Mindset and Performance Podcast. I'm Dries. I help athletes and business professionals with their career development. We work on a wide range of areas from psychology to strategy and execution, but we focus essentially on the mindset as it is the key to everything else. The whole idea behind this podcast is to deconstruct the habits that led people to their success, to learn from their experience and understand the psychology behind their actions and behaviors, and of course, to gain key insights that you can apply to your own life. Welcome to the Confinement series. These episodes are recorded for you from Germany in times where all the nations have taken strict measures to stop spreading the coronavirus. With this new and unique situation, many of us are challenged to live in conditions that they are not used to, which is why I'm bringing experts in different fields to give advice and intel on how you can manage your everyday, your health, physically and mentally, your relationships, your business, and your emotional well-being. So, without further ado, our next guest. Okay, well, thank you for accepting on such a short notice to join this interview podcast. I guess it's not really an interview, it's a conversation, I'd call it.
Yeah, it's a lovely conversation, I hope. Yeah, thank you so much for having me. That's
like
actually
like the other ones we had before, they were all good, I guess. I mean, they were not recorded,
exactly.
but like it's still about what do you do, and I'm interested in knowing how your practice can be helpful for people who are confined right now in quarantine, and maybe not your practice, but your experience, your input, your advice, and your coaching practice, and how that can translate to something actionable, maybe to the people who are going to be listening.
Yeah, I actually love that when you approached me with that, because I was like, then I was last week, basically, obviously. I was literally thinking about it because I think, and I'm gonna get into your question, which is what I'm doing. But mindset is as well what I'm doing, so that's one thing we share. I think is very crucial. Like, there are a lot of tools and a lot of experiences that we have around our work that is very important right now for people, because with the isolation and actually, like, the fear machine that is happening all around us is just triggering anxiety at a level that I think we didn't know before as well, so
Yes.
So what I do is, I work.
Maybe introduce yourself first. Yes, like who you are, where you come from.
So my name is Ina, and I'm German, which is what you know. I've been living all over the place, and actually just made my way back to Germany, which I didn't really expect would happen ever again, but here I am, and right now I'm pretty happy about that too. Actually, it's really nice to be close to my family as well, which I haven't been for the last, I don't even know, 15 years or so. So that's pretty amazing. And I have been movement educator my whole life, and as well I pursued a career in a corporate world. So I kind of have these two worlds, and at one moment I decided to leave the corporate world, my career that I was building there, and go back into movement. And movement for me has always been, or always had to do a lot with mental training as well. And because of some episodes in my life where I was facing, well, I would say it was depressive episodes. I was dealing with anxiety. And so I actually, back then I learned a lot about like how you can influence, train, and define like your mindset, your mental health, and how that actually defines the reality that you build around you, as well as your physical health. So I always combined the mental and the physical health. And when I left corporate, this is what I did. I was working with creative agencies. So I coached their people on mental and physical health issues. And I kept on doing that. I went to Bali, which is why I know you, and built my practice from there. And it was totally online based and absolutely digital. I was working with people from all over the world. I still am. And I focus quite a lot on high achievers. We call them high achievers. I guess it's a known description, which basically means it's personalities that are very driven, that seek to achieve a lot, and push themselves sometimes a bit over the edge, which is why they end up working with me, because whether they're super exhausted or they have mental health issues, or they need to manage their emotions a bit differently. Sometimes people come to me as well when they just when they are pretty well, but they still want to optimize their mental emotional capacity because they need to perform at a very high level. And that's basically what I do.
Right. And how long have you been doing this?
That's a good question. Officially, I started in 2015, which makes it 5 years. But I have been doing this before as well. So when I was in corporate, my corporate job, I left in 15. And then I went into like the practice, basically. And before that, I was doing it a little bit more undergroundy. Without me even knowing that I was doing it in a way.
Okay.
And as well, I didn't have the tools, which is a huge difference. Like now I have the coaching tools that were important for me because they set like what they taught me, apart from all the other tools that it gave me, but what it taught me, which was really important for me personally, was to set my boundaries as well, because it's a very personal business. And you're very I'm very engaged, so I really seek to help and support people, and that can be upsetting. I guess you know that.
I guess you gain the tools and you gained also the experience, I believe, also from working with multiple people from different backgrounds all over the world, right?
Absolutely, yeah. No, for
And
sure.
so how do you specifically combine the body and mind? That's the question that I want to pin, actually, so we don't forget about it. But before that, I would like to ask you, how was that journey since 2015? The ups and downs, the ups only, some downs.
Oh yeah, only ups. No, unfortunately not. Or actually, that's not true. Not unfortunately, but it was a massive journey, to be quite honest. And I don't know if all the entrepreneurs I know, at least, because I mean, it's coaching is a business, right? So we are entrepreneurs as well. Like we actually run a full business. And what I learned is that, or what I understood is that it makes you face your demons, like your own inner self, in a way that you didn't before. Because, well, at least in my corporate experience, I think I was always looking for the reason why and looking for purpose and whatsoever. Like I was very reflective and wanted to develop myself very intensely, even in corporate. But then when you go into business and all of a sudden you're self-employed, you're an entrepreneur, you try to run a business, because at the very first 3 years, I think it's rather trying than actually running a business. You come across a lot of mindset blocks that you have, and a lot of conditioning that you have, and a lot of roadblocks and stumbling stones. And so it was far up from an upward journey. There were a lot of downs. And the good thing is that if you go down a certain scale, you usually go up, or you have the ability to go up a certain scale. And I think you're going to be asking me next how I actually managed to push myself through the valleys of entrepreneurship.
Good guess. Yeah. How did you manage to go through that? Like, what skills did you employ to navigate those challenges?
Yeah, I mean, you probably know that saying that we can't really coach ourselves. So we do have a massive toolbox, right? With all the NLP training and meditational training. Sorry about that. I'm going to switch that off. But the thing is that it gets very difficult to kind of coach yourself. It's almost impossible.
You
But
can't see
having said,
always the blind spots. You need somebody
yes, exactly. You definitely need a mirror, like a person that mirrors you, that can kind of that motivates you in a phase where you're super down, that shares with you the good moments as well, and and kind of helps you see what you're not really wanting to see sometimes as well.
Mm-hmm.
But having said that, I definitely used all the tools that I teach my clients, and I think that is very natural as well, because I think we can only kind of guide people through stuff that we have experienced ourselves. It doesn't mean that I need to understand the precise problem that my client is going through, which I don't very often, but I see what is going on in the very background. And that is, if you really simplify it, it is very similar, sometimes even almost the same in every person. So what I use a lot is meditation, definitely. I need to actually get back into meditation. Since I'm in Germany, I haven't really used that as much, but visualization, any mind training, anything that works with neuroplasticity, that like we can train our brain. I don't need to explain that to you, maybe to your listeners, but that is something that is super it was a game changer for me when I actually understood the science behind all these tools. Like everything that has to do with actually training our brain has to do with training our belief system, training our mindset, and can immensely influence our emotions. And the way we feel about things defines how we act on things. So
and then ultimately changing the results and the outcomes that, or the things that we are not happy about. But what was your vision back then when you started? Were you clear about it? Were you testing things and seeing how it's gonna go?
I guess the first 2 years I was sabotaging myself in a big way. I was always working, and that's a problem as well. I kept myself very busy to not really look at the things that I really had to do. And I started a lot of projects and a lot of corporations. Like I worked with a lot of people on certain things, but then I never really pushed it all the way through. So I guess it was always the moment before the big breakthrough that I actually kind of, threw my hands up in the air. And I had to understand as well that I was always scared of actually succeeding, which is not quite true. I was always scared of that stuff becomes too big, that I can't handle it, that I get overwhelmed, that I work myself sick and stuff like that, because that was my understanding that success comes at a very high cost. And so I was kind of always avoiding to really break through. And so that was like my first 2 years.
Right. Wow. Yeah. I mean, a lot of people underestimate a little bit the journey of entrepreneurship and starting up a business, and it comes with beautiful, wonderful moments, but also with challenges. And those challenges, I guess, it's grit, commitment, focus. These are the things that we need to be equipped by to keep going, especially if we're doing something that we love and we enjoy, and we see, I mean, we have a little bit of a vision of what we want to become, what we want to do with it. And especially if it's purpose oriented, like what we do, it's giving. We get a lot of giving in it, which ultimately comes back to us, emotional satisfaction, the kick we get from having some aha moments with the clients, or having them have their own aha moments, happy with the results that they, or the achievements they did. Yeah. So how is it going now with all these things with coronavirus? I mean, which part of what you practice and what you offer do you apply on for your own? Do you apply for yourself? that is helpful, that someone listening can use and use for themselves? Like you mentioned meditation and so on, but what I'm trying to get to here actually is go back to that pinned question, body and mind, and how do you offer that? How do you execute that?
Mm. Yeah, I think it's a multiple layered answer that I have. So for me, I just said this the other day to a friend. I tend to work quite well in exemplary situations. Like when everything else goes crazy, I become super calm. It's easier for me to really well operate in times like that than in normal times, so to say,
Oh, wow.
because it triggers my creativity. And I was, and there comes the other layer. When I came to Germany, I localized my business a little bit more. Means I started teaching again very heavily, like I teach movement again. I as well reached out for a lot of companies because I decided to not only coach people one-on-one, but actually go into more holding workshops and seminars and so on, and working with corporations. And this is obviously a branch right now in my business that is totally silent because, I mean, I don't really have to explain that, right? Everything is shut down and
Yeah.
there is no like contact. So even the meetups that were scheduled, like the just discussion of the format of things, everything is just paused. So that was obviously a moment where I was like, oh, that's pretty bad because I've put a lot of work into that, and it was defining for my income. I still have my one-on-one clients, obviously, but I put a lot of energy into that branch. But then I was like, okay, I have a lot of things on my list that are more digitally focused, and apart from that, I do have my brain to come up with ideas, right? So, and that's an essential as well. If I buy into the negativity, the fear, and you become very you freeze basically. And as especially in situations that are like ours right now, which is just pretty crazy at the end of the day. I don't know if you've ever experienced anything like
No,
similar to that.
that's very unique experience, and
Yeah,
nothing
and I think
none of us have experienced.
it's a first, and it's very unique for almost everyone, right?
Yeah.
So, but I get into a very, and don't get me wrong, like I get into a positive mode, which doesn't mean that I obviously find the situation how it is positive, because it is a very scary situation for all of us. It is an isolated situation, and all that is nothing that I find positive, but um, there are new opportunities as well. You can focus on building relationships in a different way because you have actually more time and more focus. I was realizing I was running around like a whole lot before the froze actually come, before the shutdown happened. I mean, we're not actually grounded, but in a way we are. You know that.
Running around a lot, like as in
I
like
had
being.
a lot of appointments. I had a lot of meetings. I was teaching quite a lot,
I see.
stuff like that, right? And even my social life is very active. And I mean, I I restarted dancing, so I was training as well, and that means like I had appointment and appointment and appointment, and squeezed my creative work into the little kind of breaks that were showing up, you know.
Yeah, right. I see.
And now I actually have time. I had like a few days where I only brainstormed my ideas, put them immediately into implementation, and invited people, and as well actually connect to people on a very different level.
Hmm.
I had very deep conversations with my family. It's funny. I mean, they live pretty much around the corner, but I don't want to see my parents right now because they are older, and I don't. You you never know if you carry a virus at the end of the day. And so it's more conversations on the phone, or via video chats, which we're used to do, because of the distance we actually use. But I don't know how you feel about it, but for me, it gives you a lot of focus as well.
When the tension started fading after my move, it started adjusting slowly, and therefore also seeing the positive things from the situation. And I do share the same points with you about being all over the place. Decisions are minimized now. Movements are minimized. Commute time is minimized. There's
Yeah.
actually it disappeared completely. So there's a lot of time to create and connect and do some work, groundwork, if there's something like that. Like I'm reading also a lot these days. Reading
Yes,
about
exactly.
what's the book that I'm reading right now? It's about radical acceptance. So it's time to reflect. I don't know if you're familiar with this book. Really good one.
I
Fantastic.
don't know it yet, but I definitely gonna ask you for the recommendation of that book.
So what I take from you here is that you see the opportunities where they should, where they are, where maybe not everyone sees them. You stay in positive. That sounds like having a growth mindset. It is actually growth mindset, which is good. And what would be like the actionable advice here for people who are listening, who would like to benefit from what you offer, is specifically in that combination of body and mind? I mean, like I can say about what I do, and I guess I will do that. I'll say that at some point, but I guess you're more expert in that field than I am. Proper movement background with proper mindset background.
Well, you have taught athletes as well, so I guess we both have our share in that. But yeah, so for me, I always describe this. Actually, actually tried to kind of describe the concept to my boyfriend the other day. Anxiety, for example, is something that is in the first place is a physical state, right? So before you actually understand that you have that, there's a certain physical that comes before that. And without diving too deep into all that, but I'm a total advocate of the topic of embodiment, and that basically means that you can enter your emotions through your mere physics. Means the way we stand up, our posture has a huge effect on how we feel, and I think that's very intuitively understandable, right? I mean, I think they did like a big test with university students that got their grades and how they walked out of the room where they got their grades presented. And those ones, right, that came up with like a very tall, like high chest and, that obviously had good grades and so on. And it's the same thing if you have an interview for a job and you show up and your shoulders just sink into forward rotation and you sink into yourself, you appear very shy. It's obviously not a communication of a strong person that wants to take on a new opportunity. What is interesting here is that the moment you move your body, and that's my own experience, I feel safe. And obviously it has to do with me using movement as well as kind of a structure. But it is a very physical reaction too. It's something that is calming, it's stress releasing. It brings you away from all the from the carousel that you have in your mind that is like circling around thoughts of anxiety and whatsoever. So it's a bit of a distraction as well, but it helps you to see more clearly, if that makes sense. So I think it is a huge, it's very important to change your emotional setup through your physical setup And that sometimes is as easy as changing the way you sit, you stand, like your posture. And there are certain more little tweaks and adjustments that you can do to really like adjust your emotions. Some people get, for example, like a very tight chest or a knot in the stomach and stuff like that. And I mean, what would you tell a person that reacts with very tight chest or this knot in the stomach to stress? Like they relieve that very easily through a very physical activity, which is breathing, actually, right? And that literally, if you breathe for 5 minutes or for even for 5 seconds, I don't know. I think there's a 90-second rule or something. It will go away. And the feeling of anxiety, which is not always very rational, right? Just kind of disappears, and you can think about the stuff, and that opens the place for more positivity. Did this answer your question in a way?
It did completely.
Okay.
I do see also what you mean by that. EB, external behavior, impacts internal computation and impacts internal
Yes.
state. So your thought
Yeah.
process and your internal states, emotions are impacted by your external behavior. And each one of those three components, like they have an impact one on the other one. Just change one, and you impact the other ones. But like
Absolutely.
through movement, like changing a little bit, a tiny bit on your body posture or in your breath, you could influence the way you feel and therefore the way you think, so you can get going with your day. And then now confined, quarantine, I don't know, everyone could move a little bit. Everyone could work on their body posture a little bit more often. They need to set maybe reminders to get up from that desk if they're working digitally at home
Mm-hmm.
and stand up and do something, or have it a part of their routine somehow. What do you suggest with that, like when it comes to movement, not only necessarily on the small tiny ones, the small tiny improvements and changes, but also if you can go all the way to more expressive type of movements from your background in the yoga, in the dance, and so on?
So yeah, I mean, you can see that all the studios, that's one thing, and that's something I did as well, are going online. So there's a very broad offer on yeah, online classes, if you want. So like I'm offering a stream where people can yeah, move with us. Like I opened
Right.
it for a lot of teachers as well. So
Oh, that's
I
good. So you can
contacted.
share the link, right?
Absolutely, yeah,
Excellent.
absolutely. And we
Yes.
start tomorrow, so it's going to be exciting for me too, because I think I've never taught movement via a Zoom meeting.
I think that will be super beneficial for people
Yeah,
to have
it definitely
structured
is.
practice like that.
And we use it. So I contacted a few teachers in my environment, and so we want to use this as well. Like the physical here is pretty much what we focus on, but we want to kind of yeah, we kind of want to carry as well a bit of a message, what you can do about the situation with your mindset, like how you can, with mindfulness, become calmer, you know,
Hmm.
access your nervous system and so on. And so that's the one thing that I think there are right now is incredible. It's not the same, some people might say, as if you are in a room with people, but I think it's already a very beautiful opportunity that you have. And for some, it's actually even beneficial because you are safe at home. It's very comfortable. You don't lose the time to go somewhere, and you can just do everything at home.
Hmm.
And apart from that, what I did when I was working with agencies, because what you said is very true, that through the way we work, there are a lot of things that happen to our body that end up in our emotional setup as well as our mindset as well. So the sitting obviously is, wasn't it called the new smoking back in the days as well? It's like, it's really bad, not just for your spine or your joints in general or your muscle setup. It's actually really bad for your brain as well. And there are certain rules, like really being in the same position for ages is very bad for your brain and for your spine in the first place, for your joints. It just gets super stiff. That's the one point, but it gets overused in certain areas as well. So you just kind of need to change up a lot if you work in front of a computer. Like, change your position. That's good. If you can stand up, work standing up as well. I mean, I'm guilty of that as well. Sometimes when I'm really focused, I'm in front of my computer in the worst position ever, and then I get up and my neck is done, you know. But it's actually, when I was researching that with someone that I created a program for these agency people. It's even because people always say, well, I go to the gym like 1 hour every day, whatsoever. But the effect that long sitting has on your spine is so detrimental. Like, it doesn't matter if you go to the gym. I mean, to be quite honest, most people, when they go to the gym, it's not a proper movement that they seek there even. So it's not even making things better. It often makes things worse. But yeah, there are little, and I'm probably going to put some of those videos in there as well, like in the next couple of days. But there are certain movements that you can do, like in front of your computer on your desk. But it really is about getting yourself moving as much as you can. And sometimes little changes make a whole difference. And if it comes to blockages on the mind, which I feel we have a lot if we are inside, sometimes small changes. Right now, you can't go to a cafe to work, which I love to do, to open my mind a little bit, but at least you can change the room. You know, you can sit on your couch for an hour, then you can stand up in your kitchen, whatsoever. But it's definitely about changing positions a lot.
Definitely very good input here. Yeah, I'm looking forward also to follow those series you're gonna be putting out there online. And I have to admit that I have been sitting here by the computer. Oh, how many hours are there? From maybe 7:30 a.m. This is 4 p.m. now, the recording. I had a little lunch break, half an hour, which was sitting. And I had a 5-6 minutes in the couch on the phone, chatting with a friend quickly. So yeah, that's gonna be.
Yeah, no, it's actually, I love that you say this, because obviously now in the quarantine situation, the ways that we walk are even shorter. So I would even try to artificially make them longer. And kind of include, maybe put stickers on every corner in the house, and here you do a little stretch, and there you do, you know, a squat or whatsoever, just kind of to make it a little bit playful, but it's just crucial. Yeah.
Yes. Good. So yeah, that was really cool. I don't know if would you like to add something regarding the mind side? You spoke about body. You gave some actionable tips there for people to try out. You also sharing a link. You said also that you'll be sharing input about the mental side of things, like how we can be more mindful and so on. But do you have anything to share right now regarding that topic? Like, what's your own practice to keep yourself sane in confinement?
Me and my partner, because I'm becoming a maniac at one moment if I'm enclosed all the time. I actually, and it's still possible, I go on walks quite a lot, and I hope it's going to stay possible. If not, it's going to be a whole lot more difficult for me. Outdoors walks.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I mean, I have quite a big balcony or terrace, if you want so.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's not like I digest mental things, emotional things, intellectual things when I walk. And to be in the fresh air is something that is like, if possible, in the woods is the best for me, actually, or in the beach. The beach is great as well. So right now I can still do that, which is pretty good. And then for me, one of my major tools, if my mind gets very intertwined, then I journal a lot. I need to it's a verbal vomiting, excuse my language, but it's really like I really need to get it out of my head and on paper, and it structures everything so well. It's really releasing for myself. And
Very nice. Very good.
apart from like meditation, which I don't practice on a level that I'm used to practice right now, is movement. Like for me, it's crucial. Actually, I was sitting around last week almost all the time as well, but today I actually went into the studio and moved for 1.5 hours, and it was so healing. Really, just you feel how your body all of a sudden opens up, and that definitely has an effect on your nervous system and your mind at the end of the day. So for me, it's always better out than in, right? So whether I have a journal where I kind of leave the stuff, I go on a long walk where I can structure my thoughts. I speak to people that I know can give me great input or can listen very well, or kind of have an access to the emotional, my emotions, and I can share with them my emotions. So people I trust. So that's very important as well.
Very good. Very good. Well, thank you for sharing all these tips. I'm definitely going to be uploading that very soon.
Nice.
You have
Great.
questions for me back?
Yes. What is your practice right now?
Yeah, I'm quite OCD a little bit about my practices, and if I don't do my morning routine, I feel like I missed something in my day. And well, I do meditate like regularly. I would say every day now since a little while. The duration changes from 10 to 20 minutes. 10 when I'm a little bit in a rush, or a little bit more, how to say, less grounded. I follow that by some breath work. And now that I'm in Europe, I'm doing ice cold showers, and a little bit of mantra reading, or like just flip on the pages of books that I have been, or books or notes that I have been bookmarking, pages that I've been bookmarking to read and get reminded. And then I go on by my day, and definitely walking around a little bit, exercising a little bit, moving a little bit. And I have actually a little notebook with a big little hand-drawn smile with a person. Nice. And then I'm writing on top of it smile, just like that, simply smile. So to remind myself to smile, and just right by my desk right now, and I'm looking at it as I'm speaking, just to look at it sometimes and think, smile, stay positive, things will get better. And as a reminder, not only for these times, but like for always.
Always, exactly. Yeah.
Connections, conversations like the one I'm having with you here. It's very enjoyable, also refreshing. Reminding me that there are people out there like yourself who have valuable inputs to share, and that we are all connected, united somehow in these unique times.
Yeah.
Voila.
Yeah, I think it actually opens up a lot of opportunities as well. It's always like this, isn't it? It's like making a decision means you decide against something, but there is a door opening right in front of you. And I think the situation as well is something. And in the most part, what I think as well is you are so squeezed by life right now that your inside kind of pours out. So I think it's a huge opportunity to grow.
Yeah.
To actually look really into what's been happening, why does it trigger certain fears, certain thoughts as well, stuff like that. And I think it's actually, we can learn from that a lot.
Yes, totally. So yeah, this is coming close to an end then, this conversation. For now, I guess we will have more and more in the coming days. We can discuss different topics.
I would love that. Yeah, I think that'd be
And
great.
is there anything to add? Like, so how do people can find you? Like Instagram, I guess, LinkedIn, and also the
Yeah,
link that I
linked.
will put in the bio, right? The link for the free videos.
Perfect. Yes. So that's it's two websites. The one with the movement, I'm going to share you the link, and then LinkedIn is the best. I guess you will share the link as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
So my website is inaandrea.com, where people can find me and contact me, and they find me through that, I think, as well on LinkedIn. So yeah, happy to speak to everyone and see what's coming out of this interesting time that we're actually going through.
Yes. Excellent. Thank you very much, Ina.
Thank you so much, Doris.
I talk to you very soon.
Yeah, talk really soon. Thanks for having
Bye.
me.
Bye.
Bye bye.
That's it for today's conversation. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed the key insights that we shared on this podcast interview. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you didn't subscribe yet, and head to my website, thebodyandmindcoach.com/blog, to find exclusive articles about various personal and professional development topics. And finally, if you are an athlete or a business professional who's looking for help to advance your career and navigate through whatever challenges that you may be facing to win your game, or if you are a corporate organization who would like to offer their team a workplace well-being workshop, or if you are a sports team who's looking at unlocking their full potential, go to my website, thebodyandmindcoach.com, scroll to the bottom and hit the contact button and reach out. Thank you and enjoy your day.